podcast. This is episode 100, and I am so glad you're here. Today, as I'm recording this, it's July 1st, it's Canada Day. So if you are here and you are Canadian, or if you're wherever you are, if you happen to be Canadian, happy Canada Day to you. And to my US listeners, happy Independence Day. I am so grateful to be here. Today, I want to take an opportunity to talk about the journey that I have been on with you all, that you've been all on with me, which is a journey rooted in passion, expertise, and impact. Now, when I first contemplated starting the Who Are You to Lead Anyway podcast, my goal was to share my extensive expertise with my passion for coaching and connect with smart, talented, high achievers like you and support you in your growth. Now, little did I know that this journey would lead us here to our 100th episode. Yet here we are. And before I say another word, I just have a huge thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here, for listening, for those of you who have provided ratings, for those of you who have taken the time out of your day to provide a review. You truly cannot know without me telling you how much that means to me. To have your work out in the world, to have that work seen, heard, and acknowledged by the very people that you were desiring to support and impact is such an incredible gift. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And today, I want to share a little bit more about why I started this podcast. I want to give you some backstory about its name, and I want to go over who this podcast is for, what I bring to the table, why you should listen, and why you should tell your peers, and what you can expect going forward. So let's start with why I started this podcast. Now, as an experienced HR leader and executive coach for Fortune 500 clients worldwide, I mean, not all of my clients are Fortune 500, but I have many. I left a six-figure income a couple of years ago to pursue my true passion. Being a thought partner to support individuals to stand up, to step out, and to create lives they love. Like this is the best work that I could ever do. This is the best job I've ever had. To guide new, emerging, and high potential leaders who have had a taste of success and are not only asking what's next, but being so willing to put in the work to get themselves there. There being whatever their version of next is. So I thought it would be really useful to share with you my story, which I believe will resonate with you. This is a story about how external critics shape our internal self-perception and how this is played out within my own life. Now, for a long time, I wrestled with the fundamental question rattling around in my brain: who am I to do this thing? Who am I to do that thing? And despite my achievements, that doubt lingered like a persistent shadow. Who am I to voice my thoughts? Who am I to lead a team? I'm barely in my 20s. Like, who am I to have been given this responsibility? Who am I to say no to someone that's a leader and maybe in a senior leadership role? And I have done that. Who am I to be able to pursue my dreams? Who am I to prioritize myself, make life-changing decisions, or venture into the unknown? I just want to share with you, like, this uncertainty echoed through many, many phases of my life, and it still will, right? It's not like that thought is going to go anywhere. It's still there. So I just want to walk you through that. So over the last several years, I realized that before my inner critic emerged, and the same would be true for you, there were external skeptics, of which all of us have. Our family, our peers, our teachers, society, who shaped our understanding of what it means to be successful, of what it means to be right, of what it means to be acknowledged, of what it means to be accepted. And for me, these external critics instilled a strong sense of how things needed to be done. I was taught to have high standards. I was taught to strive for control. And I was acknowledged when I did something right or when I achieved something. And if I didn't do it right or I didn't achieve something, I wasn't acknowledged. And so, as a human with a brain who loves to have some dopamine, just like all of us, of course, I learned that that behavior, when I achieved something, I was going to get some validation. So, my narrative, or to say it differently, to call it out for what it is, by limiting belief of, well, who am I? Oh no, like I'm not the person that's needed here to do this thing. That story that I was telling myself about who I was holding me back from who I was meant to be and who I'm meant to become. And although it drove me to do and be better in so many ways, which sounds great, but also, this is also the lie. It also meant that self validation, self acceptance, and self love were conditional. I was seeking validation from outside of myself. And if you don't get that, then that becomes a bit of a problem, right? Because then you're looking for it and you're not getting it. So you're actually not getting what you need. So, too, not being able to give that to yourself. So I will tell you, like, if we're going to go back in time here, from an early age, I took charge of things. That's just what I did. I literally kept things together. I come from a family of incredibly hard workers, and in so many ways, being defined, and I did this myself, as a hard worker became my identity. I was efficient. I was effective. Like, I value efficiency. I was effective and I was in control of whatever came my way. I was super focused on my career, and it led me toward unsustainable workaholic tendencies, which also is something that is very familial to me, right? So in my family, I come from a family of hardworking workaholics. So, what does that mean? Performance and acceptance were intertwined, and the perception and the expectations that others had of me were nothing compared to my own expectations, which drove me to become this hyper independent, self aware, because I was aware of it, and self reliant leader, human, parent. So I often overdid it. I often overgave of my time, my energy, my resources, and I struggled to ask for help and support. And there was this constant competition, this internal race, if you will, within me to prove myself. Who was I to do it? Right. So it came from a place of not feeling good, because whatever the it was, like, who was I to do the thing, right? It didn't come from a good place. It was as if life was a challenge to be bested, but there wasn't anybody else in the race. It was me against me. And it was all about proving myself to myself. Was I worthy enough, good enough, smart enough, all of the enoughs? And could I do it better, faster, more efficient than I had the last time? So, as I'm sharing this with you now, as I even hear the words that I'm sharing with you, like, you can just get the sense of what my experience of living my life was like. Let's just say it wasn't as good as it could have been. Now, that pursuit of perfection, of control, of achievement led me to ignore and neglect my needs even more. And in my 30s, I found myself caught in a cycle of excessive stress. And in retrospect, I can see it so clearly how it all led me to burnout. I was completely 100% disconnected from my body. My mind was always on, it was in overdrive. And today we would call that overfunctioning. And that's what I was doing all of the time. So the younger version of me was so serious. I have so much compassion and so much empathy for her, because she worked so hard, she tried so hard, and was not able to enjoy anything in the moment. Now, with the gift of the future, here's the gift of insight that I received, recognizing how all of this, based on one limiting belief, shaped my narrative, has been transformative. The thing about limiting beliefs is that unless you have someone to help you discover them, you don't even know that they're there, right? You just keep doing what you've always done, expecting a different result. And so through coaching, I gained an understanding that these critics, or these guardians, as I like to refer to them now, although once helpful, was no longer needed. This allowed me to start rewriting my story. Now, my story has been, so I don't know if I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I mean, I was a leader very early on in my 20s, right? So my journey, a lot of that has been really learning to trust myself, to stop what I was doing that clearly, had I kept doing it, would keep leading me back into burnout again and again and again, and to be able to choose something different, to open my mind because I was so head led to ask for what I needed, to be able to collaborate with others, with my peers, to be able to figure out on my own how to delegate to members of my team, to be able to figure out how to have difficult conversations and hold my not only my team accountable, but senior leaders accountable to the decisions that they had made in order to do all the things, right? And most importantly, I needed to learn how to lighten up and enjoy life more. So I share this because if you find yourself resonating with my story, I share it for a few reasons. The first is I want you to know that you're not alone. This is truly a shared experience. The second is that while none of us can change the past, we can all learn to view it differently. The third reason I shared it is because if the circumstances don't change, that doesn't mean that you can't change your experience within it. Life truly doesn't have to be so hard, which is why I'm so passionate about this work. So each of the, at this point, 360 leaders that I've worked with, seems crazy when I say that out loud, have had their own version of a limiting belief. And through coaching, broaden their own understanding, their own perspective, their own acceptance of what is, which is some version of like we're all human with a brain that tell us stories. And when we teach ourselves to really eavesdrop on ourselves and begin to make more conscious choices toward a more balanced life, we can still achieve great things. And the experience can be completely different. It doesn't, I promise you, because I've done it, it doesn't have to be that stress-filled, stress-inducing experience. So what if each time when doubt arises, we saw that as a potential invitation to shift our identity, to shift our experience? And this all begins with a reminder that our mind's job, our brain's job, is to protect us, right? Protect us, keep us safe, seek pleasure, and be most efficient, which means resisting change. And I don't know if you noticed, but that's the only thing that is constant is change. So one of the keys that I have found to unlock this doubt for myself is to answer the question, who am I? And I've learned that by voicing my thoughts and pursuing my dreams, specifically in service of becoming the next version of myself, right? When I take the time to sit with myself and actually put factual evidence to who am I to do whatever it is I'm about to do, that has been so incredibly helpful in moving forward. So if your brain presents you with beautiful questions, and I'm confident that it does, I invite you to answer them and unlock the wonder within. So this brings me to who this podcast is for. The Who Are You Today Anyway podcast is for anyone with a desire to step into a higher level role. Anyone with a desire to take on challenging assignments or to be promotion ready. I can't guarantee promotions, but I do get clients promotion ready. And all of that, right? This podcast is for all of those individuals. And if you're transitioning from peer to leader or from leader to leader of leaders or some other transition of any kind, this podcast is for you. It's also for anyone wanting to live with less stress, which is becoming more and more important to me as I get older because life is beautiful and it does not have to be filled with over-functioning, stress, people-pleasing, perfection, achievement. I mean, we can redefine achievement. Like, let's take our power back and define some of these things for ourselves because that's where we need to get ourselves to, right? The negative emotion that we're feeling isn't serving us long term. And that's not to say that that's not to say that I'm wanting to like skip over negative emotion. That is not it at all. That's part of the human experience. We have to honor that. And sometimes we want to feel those things. And also, there are many, many times and many, many humans and leaders that are experiencing so much stress, so much overwhelm, so much burnout, and that doesn't have to be the case. So, this brings me to what I can bring to the table as a coach and as a podcast host. So, over 35 years in HR and leadership roles across various industries and working environments, I have seen it all: successes, missteps, and everything in between. My experience is not only broad, but it's also deep. And most of my clients, when I ask them, why did you choose me as your coach? They are looking to leverage my background in HR, right? A lot of leaders don't have a great relationship with HR, and many leaders are dealing with employee survey results, leading teams, leading generations, multiple generations within the workplace through a change. And some of this is all for the first time for them. And because they have never done it and they want to do a great job, they're looking to leverage my expertise, which is this great marriage as far as a coaching relationship goes. So I have supported leaders at all levels and coached clients in finance, HR, IT, telecom, government, manufacturing, utilities, all kinds. I'm actually not sure what kind of, that actually would be an interesting question to play with in my mind is, what industries have I not coached on? What types of leaders have I not supported? And so in each episode as a podcast host, my intention is always to share some of my stories, but my clients' stories, tips, tools, and questions to help you lead with clarity, confidence, and purpose. So, why should you listen to this podcast? Well, if you're feeling uncomfortable in your new role, if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're unsure where to begin, if you're eager to build your career, you are in the right place. We address topics we already have on managing stress, delivering tough feedback, understanding succession planning, and so much more. I'm wanting to take an approach I'm not getting ahead of myself here, but even like leader as coach, right? So this podcast is designed to inspire and guide you with practical solutions to real problems. So, what can you expect? Each episode so far, and I anticipate this to continue, offers short and inspiring content to get you thinking, right? And thinking is great, realizations are great, but also taking inspired action. I want you to expect to feel hope, inspiration, and commitment as we explore how to show up even when it's hard, to raise your awareness to the choices you make and provide you value for your listening time. That is what you can expect from me. Now, while I've shared why I started the podcast, I want to also share a little bit more about my personal why. I am so passionate about helping leaders connect with their true potential, navigate challenges, and lead from a place of intention. And by sharing my gifts, my insight, and my stories and my client stories, I aim to empower you to take massive, inspired action and create the impact that you desire to have and to make in the world. Like, we have things to do here. That's why I've created this podcast. I also created this podcast for my 23-year-old self, who back in 1989 was leading a team for the first time with no training, no guidance, no mentorship, anything. I literally figured it out on my own by reading books and making a ton of mistakes. I learned what I needed to do by learning all of the things that were terrible in lots of ways, right? Figuring out like what not to do. I did this podcast for my 42-year-old self. That's part of my why. When I was leading a team in a region with 26 locations and a provincial association chapter for human resources for the first time, and I had never done it before. And I needed guidance and mentorship. And I needed something like this to be able to tap into that could help guide me to what I could do in these situations. I created this for my 46-year-old self, who was part of a senior leadership team for the first time and leading an enormous skill building change that I had to get a lot of employees on board with. I did this for my 49-year-old self, who was part of another senior leadership team and leading a systems change from an HR and talent perspective that also needed to be adopted by the union. That was not a small task. And I could have used this podcast, a podcast of this type, at that point. I also created it for my 51-year-old self, leading client groups through multiple organizational changes again and again as an individual contributor, not as a leader, which was the biggest shift I have ever made, the biggest transition I have ever made in my life. And I could have used something like this at that time. I also created it for my 54-year-old self, leading change with leadership assessments and individual growth plans as an individual contributor, responsible for growing leaders to make sure that they had the skills that they needed to be able to navigate leadership space and inspire and empower their teams. And I also created it for my 56-year-old self, who is navigating the transition from employee to solopreneur. And it was an opportunity to use every tool, every tip, every technique again as I ventured into something new. So, as a human with a human brain, there is always going to be conflict between comfort and possibility, between security and growth. It's a tug of war of sorts, where our minds cling to what's familiar and our hearts yearn for something more. Now, in this journey of leadership and life, it's typically and always us standing in or getting in our own way, criticizing our decisions, judging ourselves and others and the circumstance because we have a human brain, and sometimes avoiding the discomfort, right? So after all of the thousands at this point, thousands of hours of coaching, I think I was reading this morning, it's like, and this is just within contract coaching. I mean, I've done almost 2,800 sessions. That's a lot of hours. That's a lot of leadership. That's a lot of coaching. And I have noticed that the one thing that we're all wanting to avoid, and sometimes at many costs, is negative emotion, which, if we allowed ourselves to feel it, if we allowed ourselves to just experience it, that negative feeling would pass in 90 seconds. Yet amidst these challenges and negative feelings we're trying to avoid lies such a beautiful opportunity for transformation. Listen, coaching has been so pivotal for me as a human, and I see the impact and the value this work has every single day on the people that I support. It's helped me recognize and overcome my own self-sabotage, gain clarity on what motivates me, and help me embrace a path of growth and authenticity, of truly being myself more and more every year, every quarter, every month, every week, every day. And it's not just about navigating challenges, but also about aligning my actions with what matters most to me and nurturing a mindset of empowerment at a time when it is needed most, right? So when you're stretching for that goal that you have and that vision that you see for yourself, you're going to keep getting pulled back. You're going to keep getting pulled back. And the work then is just, how do I nurture this relationship with myself? How do I talk to myself? How do I take care of myself? How do I support myself through this change that I'm wanting? So let's take a moment to talk about celebrating milestones and overcoming fears, because from the moment I remember announcing the podcast launch to reaching this 100th episode, like, I can't even, in some ways, it's so surreal, right? But each milestone along the way has been a testament to my own resilience, to my own commitment. And despite my many fears and my many doubts about who I was to have a podcast, I mean, that's essentially why this podcast is named, Who Are You to Have? Who Are You to Lead Anyway? It's like, okay, well, that was the question I walked into this podcast with. And now I've answered that question. Right? But I was questioning my qualifications, my technology hurdles, my potential judgment of other people, right? Everything that I thought that could go wrong. I stepped forward and showed up for myself and for you, because this bigger goal of guiding you through leadership and life with more ease and less angst really matters. It really matters to me. This podcast has been a journey of finding and using my voice. That's the interesting thing about using your voice. You have to actually use it in order to find it, right? So that's been some of the work for me. So to support others in trusting themselves, sometimes for the first time, to guide you toward finding new ways of making your life and the world more beautiful that you live in. And there's so many possible ways of getting there. There are hundreds and hundreds of ways, and each of them are unique. So I would love to take your vision for yourself and turn that into a reality for you. And one of my gifts is the practical execution comes so easily to me because of my logical mind. And when I leverage that with my own experience and with my intuition, that brings clients to spaces and places they'd not gotten to otherwise. And I know this because my clients tell me. And that gives both of us so much joy. So when I take a look ahead, there's a couple things that I want to share with you. The biggest challenge over this last year and a half has been creating and laying the foundation for the Leadership Lens program, which was the lifetime access program that I created. And that dream hasn't taken off. And nothing is ever lost. Everything that I created here, the content, the videos, the resource library that includes so many resources. I have resources on positive intelligence, executive presence, how to reclaim your power, values work, career discovery, strengths, 360-degree review process. I've even created a guide for leaders who have been, like I was, head-led, to help them expand their awareness around emotions, how to set smart goals. There's just so many things that I've created. And all of it has served my learning, my growth, and in finding my own voice as a leader. And it serves my private one-on-one clients. I'm not sure whether many of you know this, but I do a lot of my work as a contract coach. And I also have my own one-on-one clients. So I just thought it was useful. And as I prepare to wrap up, it was important for me to share a little bit about myself and my journey because I want you to know that I've been where you are. I know your struggles and I can support you along the way. And sometimes when you're on the outside looking in, it can look like, oh, well, maybe she's just got it all figured out. It's all just perfectly for her. A, I'm still human. B, I'm still figuring it out. And there are lots of tools and techniques that I have learned along my do-it-yourself journey that can really support you along yours. So, are you ready to embark on this transformative journey with me? Are you ready to invest in yourself and unlock your full potential with the power of coaching? If so, I invite you to work with me for 6 months and experience the profound impact of personalized coaching tailored to you and your unique path. Let's get you to where you're wanting to go. And if that's where you are right now and this sounds awesome to you, check the show notes for details on how to book a call. And I hope that you have the most incredible week and the last half of 2024. Like, I can't believe as I'm saying this, like, this is half the year gone. We now have the rest of the year. What is your intention for yourself and your leadership and life journey? Take care, and I will see you back here next week. Goodbye. Hey, leader. Thanks for tuning in to the Who Are You to Lead Anyway podcast. I hope today's episode inspired you to embrace your authentic leadership journey. I want to invite you to join my mailing list at www.cynthiajamesoncoach.ca and claim your copy of Your Inner Compass, a guide to charting your course to authenticity. This guide will help you understand what truly matters most to you. My vision is to empower individuals to live and lead lives in harmony with their core values, become catalysts for positive change, and navigate transitions, all while fostering connection and belonging in the world. Lastly, your feedback shapes this show, so I would be honored if you would subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you so much for being a part of this community dedicated to authentic leadership. Together, let's make a meaningful difference in this world.